all over the place in my career. I'm 31 now, so I'm not someone who's just coming out of college, going into the field or anything like that. I don't have a degree in data science. I don't have a degree in anything technical involving the tech world. So you are kind of starting from zero. Just having a bunch of certificates is not enough. And for me in the beginning, I thought that it was enough. I was just like taking course after course. My resume was like, yeah, look at all these courses. You know, like
it's just not about learning SQL or learning Python or learning any tool in the world if you can't actually provide value to the business at the end of the day.
That's how I got my job, is leveraging my previous experience. I've learned that that's a really helpful thing to do. You know, if you're in healthcare, they have healthcare analysts. If you're in HR, there's HR analysts. If you're in sales, there's sales analysts. I just saw some
career background you actually leverage apart from, already having the knowledge of Excel. Hi, Matt. Welcome to Decoding Data Analytics. This show is all about data analytics from the lens of global data professionals. For our viewers, talking about Mike, he is currently working as a financial analyst, and he has made a lot of career switches to, land into a technical role. Originally, he's from a non-technical background, and now on LinkedIn, he shares his thoughts on how someone can actually transition into this technical field. He also has written one book named Data Portfolio Guidebook, which explains you how one can stand out in the crowd. Over to you, Mike.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me on the podcast. Really been looking forward to this and excited to talk to you today.
Great. Okay, let's start with your quick journey. So, you have made a lot of career switches. So what actually made you, join an analytical role? Like, what was that? What was the inspiration you had initially?
Yeah, great question. Like you mentioned, I have kind of been all over the place in my career. I'm 31 now, so I'm not someone who's just coming out of college, going into the field or anything like that. And I broke into data recently, just earlier this year. I'm not like a total veteran with data or anything. But yeah, I graduated college. I went into education essentially. Education wasn't my thing. Went into sales. Sales wasn't my thing. And then I spent some time in the corporate world, just doing like corporate collections, with data courses, and just got a little, really liked reporting. I really liked dashboarding. I was kind of doing data-y stuff in my last role, which, building dashboards wasn't a requirement, but I would do it for my teams or do it for client calls and stuff like that. And I just got more and more into doing that. But one day on LinkedIn, I came across Ian Klosowicz. He's like a buddy of mine now. And I just saw like a post about his how to break into data analytics book or whatever. Never had read a single post of his. I saw a comment on another post where he said something about his book. I looked at it and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm interested in being a data analyst. I just bought the book and it completely laid out the journey. And I just followed it to a T. And it actually did help me get a job in data analytics. So it kind of started there. Yeah. So in my previous job, just a lot of dashboarding and reporting helped me to see that I really liked digging into data. I really liked visualization, and wanted to make a career switch into data, which I saw as a very lucrative career with a lot of opportunity, something that was growing in popularity.
Yeah, I believe you really enjoy analytics now. I guess you found your sweet spot for your career.
Yeah, oh, I love it. It's great. I love the community of data on LinkedIn. I love the work itself. Even transitioning into the role I'm in now, it's just the work itself is just so much more enjoyable. My previous line of work was really stressful, a lot of hours, not the greatest pay, kind of brutal leadership. You can find that in any company, any job field, right? But when I pivoted into data, just everything is the opposite. I work with a great team. I make more money. It's more flexible. I'm an individual contributor, but Like I love it. Like it's great, and I know that there's so much like potential for the career as well. I mean, you see it on LinkedIn. There's just so much going on in the world of data. Such an exciting place to be right now. And so I even though I've jumped around careers a few times, what I've felt with data isn't like anything before. Like it's something I really do care about, I really am passionate about and enjoy doing.
Yeah, even I initially was an Android developer, and there was college placement going on, and I got the opportunity, to apply for a role which is about data scientist. So I got into the role, and when I actually started, working on the process and working with the company, it really inspired me to go more into analytics, more into data. It was really a sweet spot because the community is very supportive. You can optimize your work, you can play around with different domains, you can play around with different techs. There's like so much coming up to make your life easy. And also it's very fun, as you said. Even I love analytics a lot. I do not want to
Mhm.
commit myself to just one domain, because when you work for a company, you just surround yourself with that particular domain. So for about 2 years, I'm just working with retail. So when I talk to other people from different domain like finance, even edtech or healthcare, I feel like there's so much going on in analytics which I'm unaware of. So that's what gave birth to decoding data analytics, because I want to talk to professionals from all across the domains, and I want to know how exactly that works. So yeah, even so talking about like coming from a non-technical background, like how hard it is for someone who wants to, transition to into this role as of now, if they start today.
Yeah. So honestly, I don't think it's easy. You know, um, when you're essentially starting from zero, right? I don't have a degree in data science. I don't have a degree in anything technical involving the tech world. So you are kind of starting from zero. The
Yeah.
appeal to me about data analytics is that you don't necessarily need a traditional background or educate, like a formal
Yeah.
education in the field. So obviously I post on LinkedIn and stuff, and I talk to a lot of people, or see a lot of people who, they're not even done with college yet, and they are getting a degree in that field. And I mean, that's great. Like that's awesome. It might not be as difficult for those individuals to pivot into the field because it's what they've kind of committed themselves to early on. But I like talking to people who've kind of been in my shoes, who are transitioning from a non-tech background into tech, into data. Where do you start? How do you do it? You are starting from zero again. So I don't think it's easy, right? But something I talk about often, which we'll probably talk a little bit more about here, is leveraging your prior experience. That domain knowledge can really help you
Yeah.
get into an analytics job or a data job. That's how I did it, and I'll share more about that. When you're transitioning from a different career path, you have to begin, learning a lot of these schools that you learn these skills that you didn't learn, in formal school education. So it can be challenging. It's a competitive job market too. But I think there's a lot that one can do to stand out, differentiate themselves. And it's 100% possible. I mean, I'm proof it's possible. There's so many others on LinkedIn that are proof it's possible. And I think too, even if you have a non-traditional background, you still have rich experience in other fields. I mean, my previous job, because I used Excel so much, I kind of already had a really strong knowledge of Excel. So that was one thing I didn't have to spend as much time figuring out. It was more like dashboarding, SQL, those things that I had to really learn from scratch.
Yeah, that's true. So, like, can you help me understand how exactly you leverage your domain, career background you actually leverage, apart from, already having the knowledge of Excel?
Yeah. So because I worked as a billing and collections supervisor,
Okay.
one of the positions I applied for in my job search was financial analyst for the credit and collections department of this company that I'm at now. And they were looking for someone that had that domain knowledge. After I ended up getting hired, they told me that, they hired people, or they interviewed people that had a lot more technical experience than me. But they didn't have the domain experience. Because in that role, I am working really closely with leadership. They wanted someone who understands the collections world a little bit, so that I have that insight. And so that's how I was really able to leverage that experience. I wouldn't even call it like an entry level role or like a junior analyst role. But it's a brand new role for the department. I mean, they have other data analysts and data engineers and stuff like that, but my role is kind of siloed to the credit and collections department. And I work with all of our other analysts, and I work with our data engineers, to like construct the databases and stuff like that. But I'm like the sole analyst for our department, and so because that's how I got my job, was leveraging my previous experience. I've learned that that's a really helpful thing to do. If you're in healthcare, they have healthcare analysts. If you're in HR, there's HR analysts. If you're in sales, there's sales analysts. I just saw someone post this morning on LinkedIn before this podcast that, if you're trying to break into data, don't just look for data analyst roles. There's analyst roles for a lot of different domains. And mine is not that kind of role. Like, I'm a financial analyst, but I work with data. Is probably more accurately described as a business analyst role. But I'm definitely doing things that are real analytics. So I give that caveat, but yeah, look for analyst roles that are more widespread, that are linked to your previous experience, because there's a lot of people who are looking for analysts that understand the industry that they're joining into.
Yeah, even recently I had shot a podcast with Adam Stroka. He's director of HyperQ Consulting. Even he mentioned that his entire consulting business is right now focused on energy, because he had the major domain knowledge of that. So whenever someone interviews for that, he gave the preference to the candidate who already has energy experience, comparable to someone who already is capable of the job. So even he said the same thing. So I guess there's a lot of transition happening in the data domain, where people are preferring someone who already has the particular domain or the business experience, because at the end of the day, you have to deliver value to the business. It's just not about learning SQL or learning Python or learning any tool in the world if you can't actually provide value to the business at the end of the day. That's the key driving factor for the high paycheck. That's the key factor for driving this domain, at least in 21st century, because people are looking to grow. And if they're spending that much on you, they want they expect a lot from you in return. So in the end, it's just about providing value to the business.
100%. And I was even passed up for roles because I didn't have enough domain experience too. So kind of on the flip side, oh, we really like you, you understand the technical side really well, but we want someone who has more, da 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 da. So it really is a really valuable thing. Like, yeah, you want to learn, the tools that you need to know, you want to get good at those, but the domain experience really, or just the domain knowledge is so valuable, because there's data analysts for everything. Data analyst is kind of a generic role that fits into any kind of industry. You're a data analyst for this thing. And so having domain experience is not completely necessary, but kind of like we shared, it gives a strong advantage. Like, you have an advantage in that interview or when submitting that application if you understand that industry already. And so that's where people who are pivoting into data from another career can have advantages that maybe someone emerging straight out of college doesn't have. By no means am I trying to say like one is better than the other, but I think there's different like pros and cons to each side. If you're just getting started fresh out of college and you have a degree in data science, I mean, that in one way is a huge advantage. But if you're already in the working field doing something else, but you're pivoting into data, then your experience could be an advantage. So, I don't want people who are pivoting into data from a non-traditional background to be discouraged by their age or the lack of formal education. There's a lot of ways to break into the field.
Completely. So since you transitioned into this field, like according to you, what are the top tool and tech which one should learn?
Yeah. So the top two, I would say SQL and Excel. But it's interesting because different data jobs utilize different tools. I've interviewed for roles where like SQL and Google Sheets was all they use. It's like all you're doing in that role. In my current role, I don't use a ton of SQL, to be completely honest with you. But sometimes I spend several days in a row in Tableau, and I use a lot of Excel. And I'll talk with our data engineers about SQL code and things like that. And I'm probably going to start using it more. There's a lot that we're like building around my role because it's brand new. I kind of walked into it and they're like, yeah, we don't really know what we're doing, but we're figuring this out as we go. But point being that you're going to use different tools in different roles. Sometimes they have people who are just Power BI developers. But SQL, it's the most widely used tool in data. Having some sort of understanding is going to be really important for anyone breaking into that field and give you the most opportunity, even if your role isn't super SQL heavy. Just because there's a lot of data jobs too, where you use a little bit of SQL, but it's like, more than 50% this other kind of tool. But then there's some data jobs where it's extremely SQL heavy. So it just depends, but SQL is going to be something that is going to, I think, qualify you for the most jobs out there. And then I say Excel rather than like a specific dashboarding tool, because Excel, it's just so widely used. So many companies lean on it, even if they lean on it more than they should. Excel could even be used for visualization, but it's just one of those like standard tools of the trade that almost every company uses to some capacity, and having an advanced knowledge of it is something that not everyone has either. Like I've come into my role and I'm working with people who've used Excel for decades, but I can do all these fun things with it that they've never seen before, and they're really impressed by that. So I would say Excel and SQL are probably going to give you the most bang for your buck. But if I had to add a third to the list, it would be Tableau or Power BI. I personally like Tableau better. I also think it's easier to get up and running with Tableau for a total beginner. I know people have different opinions on that. But yeah, Excel and SQL, I think, are going to be the top two.
Yeah, even Tableau is one of my favorite tool, and I use it on like almost a daily basis. So I guess the one should be like SQL, and any BI tool or any visualization tool, could be Excel, could be Power BI, and could be Tableau, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think you just got to pick one, especially with the visualization piece. Like I took time to learn Power BI and Tableau when I was getting started. And then I just kind of discovered that you really only need to know one. You're probably not going to find a job that requires both. Usually a company is just one or the other, and but even if you just know one, it's not hard to learn the other. Like say you only know Power BI, but you see a company that uses Tableau, or you're interviewing for a company that uses Tableau, just take a few days to familiarize yourself with Tableau. There's a lot of overlap, even though they're pretty different. But yeah, like just pick one. I ended up really choosing to lean on Tableau, and that worked out for my current role. I didn't say this earlier, but they were looking for someone who really understood Tableau, because part of the reason for them wanting an analyst was like, we want to just get everything in Tableau. Like we want, we want someone who can like spearhead, Tableau for our department. And we have data engineers who are already like, uploading databases to like the Tableau cloud and all that stuff. But they wanted someone who can like, really take that and build out all the dashboards for their department. And so I found a place I was looking for Tableau. But yeah, one or the other is all you really need.
Yeah, completely. So Matt, talking about, your book, you have written an amazing book on data portfolio. And I was going through one of the segment, and I was really impressed on how specific details you have mentioned. Any beginner who even likes to read book or doesn't like to read book would get familiar with your ebook very quickly. So would you like to give a quick overview about the book?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I did end up getting my first job in data, I was looking for a way to break down some of what worked out for me for others. And so again, it's called the Data Portfolio Guidebook. But I found that the one thing that was really helpful in my job search was having a data portfolio. And I kind of learned over time from different data people in the LinkedIn space a little bit about having a portfolio. I didn't really see too many people who talked about it really specifically, but I just kind of studied what other people were doing. Like I would hop on someone's blog or page or GitHub, and I just kind of like learn from these different people, take bits and pieces, and then other LinkedIn people who do freelancing, would talk about different ways to set up. I kind of combined knowledge of like freelancing and what I saw other data people do, and I created a website that I can link to my Tableau public and GitHub page, and it just kind of became the one-stop shop to direct any kind of a recruiter to. And I did aim to make it really specific, like a step-by-step guide on this is how you build a portfolio. But what I've learned, like in the data space, is just having a bunch of certificates is not enough. And for me in the beginning, I thought that it was enough. I was just like taking course after course. My resume was like, yeah, look at all these courses. Like I've spent all this time learning. And I started learning over time that like that's great, and you should have that. Like you should have a few certificates. They give credibility to actual time spent learning. But having projects is what's going to show people, that you actually know how to use this knowledge that this certificate shows you have. And for myself, again, coming from a non-traditional background, I don't have a degree to show that I know this stuff. I don't have previous job experience where I've worked as an analyst, where I can just kind of say like, yeah, I worked with Tableau for 2 years at this other company, starting from scratch. And so being able to demonstrate like, yeah, I took a course in Tableau, I know how to use it. Here's a few projects that show I know how to use it. And making your project pages really easy to access. For recruiters or hiring managers. So the book just goes through start to finish, like, finding data sets, inspiration for projects, creating a landing page, creating a GitHub page, linking, your different portfolio pages to that landing page. So that's all in one spot. And then I go over a little bit too about like the job hunt, preparing for interviews. I go over some more like general things when it comes to data. But my book it's not designed to be like, this is start to finish how you become a data analyst. It's more so for people who've kind of like gotten started already, like pivoting into the field, but are like a little stuck or not sure how to take it to the next level. Like maybe you've started taking some courses and you're like, now what? So yeah, it's specific to data portfolio type stuff. Yeah.
No, that's totally amazing. If someone is into the field and want to transition, I guess maths book would be like the go-to solution for that. It's an amazing book written in amazing language. It's very easy to read, and I guess if one starts reading, at this moment, they would be finish that book in like 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, possibly less. It's not a really long read, but so I love LinkedIn for looking for jobs. And the personal branding or social aspect of LinkedIn too can give a strong advantage in the job search as well.
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great
I
tool.
went off on a tangent there, sorry, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great tool. Even, very few people were able to, tap into the zone and actually crack the code of LinkedIn and utilize it to the topmost potential. But yeah, if someone is trying to transition without a degree and, if someone wants to, explore more opportunities, LinkedIn is the base to, start from that particular base to, reach to your goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm obsessed with LinkedIn, if you can't tell. I
Yes.
love LinkedIn for connecting with other people in the data space, for looking for opportunities, and for job searching too. And I've just been able to do so much through LinkedIn, and there's just nothing else like it. And so because of how LinkedIn to me is like a walking resume, a walking portfolio, but also just like a window into who you are. I just think it's the best platform for applying to jobs as well. There's nothing like it. And there's
Yeah.
tools like websites like AngelList, which are really great for applying to like startups.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a startup, that's probably a better place to go. But LinkedIn is this great like widespread place to apply for jobs, and it's also not like it used to be. LinkedIn used to be this place where like you just kind of put in your job experience into your profile and you would just apply to jobs. Now it's like an actual community. LinkedIn has changed so much to where it's like an actual community. A lot of people are using the platform for a lot of different reasons too, which has just made it like an even more incredible platform. So again, like I think any job seeker, especially trying to go into data, should really leverage LinkedIn, have a great profile, have it be something that can speak to a recruiter, something that directs people to your landing page where you have all your projects and stuff. It's just going to better your odds of finding an opportunity or having a recruiter reach out to you even.
Yeah, because the text written on your resume does not actually validate to the recruiter that you have already done that project. It does not give that confidence to the interviewer. So I guess LinkedIn and creating portfolio is one of the great hacks to, tap into that. Talking about, having a great portfolio, what all projects you would suggest off with for a beginner?
Yeah, great question. So I think in the beginning, just starting with stuff that seems kind of fun to you and you're interested in is a good way to go. When you're just learning the tools and you're going to be stumbling through stuff a lot more, it's going to be harder to take a really boring data set. It's maybe, something like, I don't know, CO2 climates, which is a popular data set in Tableau Public. But if you find something on like Kaggle that is a really interesting data set, you might have a little bit more fun with it. And I've heard other people talk about how, they've just taken like a random fun data set and have made projects for every tool that they know or are trying to learn. And they just use the same data set for all of these tools. And that was enough to get them a job. But I think another strategy too, especially maybe once you've gotten a little bit more comfortable, is picking a data set that is a little bit more industry specific, or a project that's industry specific. So if you are trying to be a financial analyst, maybe using like Tableau Public's Superstore data set or something like that, like something that's related to money, and creating some visualizations through Tableau or Power BI or whatever through that. Because that is going to be a little bit more industry specific. We were talking earlier about leveraging domain experience. Even if you don't have like, oh, I've worked in a corporate office doing this for years, you can create projects that show some domain knowledge, or at least that you've spent time thinking about it. I think it's going to help a lot. Yeah, so even now, like I still create projects from time to time, even though like I'm actively employed as an analyst. I've like like kind of made data sets from like fake information, because there's stuff online like fake name generators or fake company generators, and I've just like put a bunch of these in a file with random numbers data and created like data sets that would be good for like accounts receivable stuff, just like playing around, leveraging like some of the domain knowledge I have now and creating a project that's like really specific to the industry I'm in. That's something anyone could do. Yeah.
Yeah, even not for just beginners. Nick Singh has talked about this in his journey that he was really passionate about DJ. So he created a project around that, and that project actually landed him into the Facebook. So not just for beginners, it's for professionals as well. If you're really passionate about a particular industry, a particular domain, and created a project around that, and representing that also creates and stands you out rather than just picking up any boring project or any boring data set.
Yeah, and it really helps to be interested in the data as well. It's going to be something that you can stick with for longer than maybe a boring data set. Or again, you can use that data set for different tools. I've seen people create their own data sets, which is really cool, like through something like a weightlifting, like their weightlifting journey, and
Yeah.
kind of recording that data and creating projects through that. I mean, that's really cool. I think even Annie Nelson, a popular person on LinkedIn, I think she created a project that was showing like analytics on her job search journey, like amount of places she applied and like callback ratio. It was something like that. But she took like data from her own life and created projects around that. So that's really cool. Not everyone might be as motivated to collect that data, and you don't need to, but the point is like it's something interesting to you, whether it's your own data or data you find, like you're interested in it. It's fun.
Yeah, totally. It also stands you out in a very different way.
It does. Yeah.
Talking about this, I wanted to understand what are your go-to, resources to, upskill yourself or read about anything, or the resources you use to, transition into this domain.
Yeah. So when I was still pivoting into the field and taking courses, I really liked Udemy. So backing up a little bit, I started with a platform called GoSkills, which isn't very popular, but that's where I started like some of my Excel courses. They actually have really, really great Excel courses specifically. And that's what I started. That's where I kind of dipped my toe into, like, I was trying to get better at Excel at my last job just to be better. And some of it was like I already knew some of this stuff, but I just wanted a certificate to prove it, and then I was legitimately learning more and more. So that was a great place for Excel knowledge. And they have some other courses for things like Power BI or Tableau, but they're a little more introductory. But eventually I made my way to Udemy, and Udemy has some really great comprehensive courses. So I took a SQL course on Udemy that was like, it was like zero to hero kind of thing. It's Jose Portilla's SQL boot camp, go from zero to hero. And it was really great. I mean, I've taken other courses since then that don't even like cover some of the stuff he went over. It's just very comprehensive. And I did like a similar Tableau course by him as well, which is quite comprehensive as well. So Udemy is really great. What I love about Udemy too is you just pay for the course once and you have it for life. And they're often on sale. So it might be like $100 course, but like 90% of the year it's on sale for like $10. And so pretty cheap, a website like GoSkills, it's like a monthly subscription. And once you stop paying the monthly subscription, you lose access to the content, which kind of sucks. But Udemy is great. More recently, what I've just been using to upskill is DataCamp. DataCamp is really great. I've been using it to advance my SQL skills, and I want to start digging into Python as well, and R. Those are things I want to learn next. Not stuff I really use in my current role, but I want to learn it. And so DataCamp is really, really great. It's not the cheapest platform. They do have some free material. So there's like a free version that's pretty limited, but it's still pretty nice. But DataCamp, their paid version is really great. They have a lot of course material on there. What's great about their lessons is they walk you through with a lot of practical work, where you're kind of coding into the tool through their website. It's really nice. So that's what I've been using lately is DataCamp.
Yeah, no, actually, that was my next question, that which resources you are using currently to upskill. So I get that's answered this
Mhm.
question as well. So is there any other resource which you're using apart from DataCamp to upskill as of now?
As of now, no. So I put together a resource that's like 15 of the best static course platforms that I
Mm-hmm.
just like give out for free on my LinkedIn, which has a lot of great courses on it that I've checked out to some capacity. But yeah, right now I'm just using DataCamp, and it's really great, especially for like programming languages. Might not, I don't even know if they have Tableau or Power BI courses. They might, um, but for things like SQL, it's really great. It's on their website
Yeah.
as well. Just another reason why I love Tableau. Yeah, I mentioned earlier, but I think Tableau it's so easy to get up and running with Tableau, and so easy to like showcase your portfolio. They have Tableau Public, and yeah, I've taken time to learn Power BI. I'm not as advanced with it as I am with Tableau, but I felt like
Yeah.
Power BI was it wasn't as easy to like, I don't know, I guess show off or integrate with other things as Tableau was. And so
Mm-hmm.
I say that to me, like I think Tableau is a little bit more friendly to the like total beginner. I know Power BI, it's a lot of like DAX language that people who know
Yeah.
Excel probably be able to hop into Power BI pretty easily. But I like Tableau because of it's just like its ecosystem, which is pretty beginner friendly, I think. And yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of great resources on there too, like their templates.
Yeah, completely. So, talking about the resources, do you read book? Do you like to read book in this particular domain, or you would like to, just hop onto the Google, search for it, and just go with the flow?
Yeah, I don't read any data books, like books. I should. I've seen different people post about some really great ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like to read. I haven't read any like technical material. So yeah, I guess spend time on courses. I hop on Google a lot. Like even on the job, I
Yeah,
Google so many times a day. Um, so that's something I think people should know, that they can be comfortable with as well. As you don't have to be a total expert going into the field. You can always Google on the job.
yeah.
But as far as like book material for this space, not currently reading anything, though I'd like to.
Yeah. My recommendation would be Storytelling with Data. I guess that's an amazing book to basically pull insights from the data once the dashboard is created, and you have to, communicate it to stakeholders or clients. It's very important that you are able to communicate that. That's the kind of book even I am reading currently to upskill myself, to pull more insights from the data and able to present that analytics and insights to my stakeholders.
I'll have to check that out. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we are good for the episode. Thank you so much, Matt, for coming in and taking your time on the weekend specifically. Yeah. Do you have anything
Yeah.
to
Thanks
say?
so much for having me. No,
Well, if you like the podcast, do subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more episodes.